Welcome to ValueBridge.net, your paint-by-numbers resource for value creation in private equity deals, funds, GPs, and investment programs. This video shows you how to use the online value creation calculators that are available for almost every topic on the platform. You want to start by finding a calculator that best matches your situation, so click over to the module page where you can browse by the different topics. Let's say that we select Module 17 on Sector-Appropriate Gearing. This one measures how much value creation would have occurred if a company had a different leverage level, and how much value came from the deal having more or less leverage than the typical sector peer. Scroll down to the Online Value Creation Calculator section and open it up. The first thing we have is the GP or fund's gross return for the deal. The input fields are capital in, capital out, gross IRR, and the holding period. All of the output fields are in gray, and they cannot be edited because they're driven from the input fields. The next section defines the analysis parameters. These control both the value drivers calculated and the metrics that are required for the models. For example, it asks for the sector debt ratio at the bottom because sector leverage is turned on at the top. If we uncheck it, the sector debt ratio goes away. If we turn on the revenue parameter, the calculator will ask us for the revenue at entry and exit, and the result at the bottom will now include equity value creation driven by changes in revenue and the EBITDA margin. And note that selecting revenue unlocked two more options. To the model, we can now add gross profit and the relative change in the company's addressable market. If we decide to change the valuation basis from EBITDA to revenue, then the inputs for EBITDA and gross profit go away because they're no longer value drivers. But the addressable market inputs remain, and to this we can add the prevailing market multiples for the deal. Okay, now at least a dozen different value drivers can be calculated from this particular selection. But the independent variables are the only numbers that we need to plug into the model. Everything else that's gray is a dependent variable that cannot be modified. As we see here, the Microsoft Excel templates effectively work the same way. The independent variables are in yellow, and they're usually the only numbers that should be changed on the sheet. However, on the Excel templates, you do have the power to override this, either purposely or accidentally, which can lead to mistakes. That is the main purpose of these online calculators. Because they cannot be broken, you can use them to make sure that your Excel files are giving you the right answers. Okay, down below the dependent variables is where we find the analysis results. Select your preferred value creation model, and the first thing you'll see is a chart. Hovering over the value drivers tells you what they are and exactly how they add up to equity value creation for the fund, which in this case is $80 million, the difference between the $40 million invested and the $120 million returned. The charts always break value drivers down into the smallest units of value creation. We don't see revenue growth here because instead we're showing its underlying value drivers of addressable market growth and market share growth. However, you will find revenue growth in all of the other possible value drivers in the table below, and as expected, these two value drivers do add up to the total revenue growth number directly above it. Now, if you want a less detailed breakdown, we can scroll back up to the analysis parameters and turn a few of them off. For example, if we remove both the addressable market and market multiple data as follows, then we will just have revenue growth and multiple expansion on the chart. Now, below this, each of the value drivers is measured 5 different ways. Because we chose the derivative model, the first measurement is absolute dollars of value creation on the left. From that, we can calculate relative percent value creation, which is each value driver divided by total equity value creation. Then we have equity return multipliers, which are relative value creation measurements that tell us how much value drivers influence the gross multiple of invested capital. Then we have value creation IRRs, which are annualized relative return measurements that combine to generate a deal's gross IRR. And finally, times money value creation. This is a measurement that's sometimes used in academic and industry literature. It's absolute value creation in the first column divided by gross invested capital. Now, if we go back up here and change to the logarithmic model of value creation, the results will change slightly because the underlying math is different, but variance should never be more than a few percent. In the logarithmic model, we start with the equity return multipliers, then calculate value creation IRRs and relative value creation. From there, we can go to absolute value creation, and then finally, times money value creation. At this point, you can go down to the bottom and print to either paper or PDF. Maybe you want to save a copy down for your compliance purposes, but what I like to do is print a hard copy, and then compare those results to my Excel spreadsheet so I know that everything is correct. If all the results match, you're likely good to go. If not, go back up to the top and double check your inputs. If those match, it usually means that there's a mistake in your Excel file. Somebody might have hard-coded a number that's supposed to be a formula, and you can track that down by checking through the numbers in the dependent variable section. Now, you don't need to do this for every value creation model, but if you're about to do something irreversible, like put a chart into a PPM or annual meeting presentation, or a report to the Office of the State Treasurer, do yourself a favor and take 5 minutes to check your model against one of these online calculators. It might save you from embarrassment or something worse. I hope that you found this overview helpful. If you have any questions about how to use the site's online value creation calculators or anything else, feel free to get in touch with me on the valuebridge.net support page.